has controlled the world for 200 plus years, and we get to be alive at a time to see it fall. I believe in the power of one person working as a team with other Christian patriots can have massive impact in reversing this ungodly culture. I believe that we have an omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent God that has put his hand on this moment in time to deny the timeline of the enemy and is about to heal our land. This is Rick, your host, and I believe that God has called me to empower Christian patriots with truth. Join us now for the Blessed to Teach show, and let's see what God is doing today.
Transform your health with the power of light. Introducing the future of natural healing. Are you seeking a natural, effective way to enhance your well-being, reduce pain, and accelerate healing? If you're looking for quick fixes or ignoring the importance of natural health solutions, this might not be for you. Backed by years of research and testimonials from health professionals, our quantum energy infrared light harnesses the scientifically proven benefits of red and infrared light therapy. Designed for those who value holistic health practices, our device offers a non-invasive, drug-free method to support your body's natural healing processes. Visit QEstrong.com now to discover how quantum energy can revolutionize your health routine. Experience deeper sleep, enhanced muscle recovery, reduced inflammation, and improved skin health, all with just a few minutes of use each day. Don't miss out on the healing power of quantum energy. Visit QEstrong.com and learn more to take the first step towards a healthier you. Join the thousands who have already discovered the life-changing benefits of quantum energy. It's time to prioritize your health and well-being. Unlock the healing power of light. To get your quantum energy infrared light today, your journey to optimal health begins with a single click.
Hey guys, I haven't talked about QE Strong in quite a while, but I just want to let you know that that's 45% off now, that red light therapy wand. It's got infrared as well as red light. I love it. Also, quite a bit of other things on sale. I'll talk about it in just a second. We got Sheila Holm in the house. I can't wait. We're going to go over her life journey of exposing the elites through the years. There's also a lot of news that we'll get in after if we have any time. I did just want to spend most of the time with Sheila, though, on the Annex D class before praise and prayer, which usually starts around 6:15 CST. So we'll go over there. We might be a little bit late because I know we got a lot of great information that we're going to get from Sheila. But let's I did want to let you know just real quickly before we bring Sheila on that there's an insider blessing sale, guys. I tell you, if there's one product of everything that Rob's given me that transformed my life the most, it was definitely the sleep frequencies, right? These patches or cards that you can get. And the last 10 months since I've been taking these, you guys probably noticed I'll have a cold quite a bit, like 3 or 4 times a year, because I don't get enough sleep. But now, the last 10 months I've been taking this sleep frequency patch or card. Both of those work really well. The Insider Blessing Tales are like 75% off of some products, to 45% off that red light therapy. So go to that QEstrong.com/B2T. Again, and you can do B2T at the checkout. We're going to spend the rest of the time with no commercials, no interruptions, all with Sheila. So let's move over to Sheila. Sheila, how are you doing today?
Doing great. It's good to be back with you. And look at how everything is just working smoothly. This is awesome.
Yeah. I think last time we had a computer glitch and I couldn't even get you on the screen. The Zoom wasn't working with the upgrades. But we're live and we're going well. And we can see Sheila. Last time we just had a great conversation, though. It was beautiful. And I would just love to take this video, this beautiful video that was done, and kind of go over the history of your life, especially so beautiful for the people who haven't heard your story, but also for even the people who've heard all the books you've done and all the knowledge you have, but kind of go all the way back. So you mind if we do that to start out with?
That's great.
All right. And this will be on the website I have down below there. It says hisbest.org, hisbest.org, and you'll see this video there. And if you play it with sound on, it'll have the JFK background. It's a really powerful video. But I'm just going to go through it and pause it without sound, just so we can get Sheila's commentary around it, right? And to understand her life quest. So it starts out, and it's kind of fun. And is this whole picture of you at how old were you? 4 years old at this time? Is that right?
4 years old. That's kind of the day it happened. Dad went, and it isn't that hat. He did AI and has it moving. So he took a little 2x2 with crinkle edges, black and white photo, colorized it, and AI'd it. And it's so amazing because he's picked up my mannerisms and how I was and how people describe me. And it has shocked my family because they grew up with me and they said, "Oh my gosh, that's you. How did you get a film at that age?" And he did it with AI.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
But that's the day it happened. It's actually a little cowboy hat and a cap gun. Dad said, "I want you to start celebrating today." And so he went to town and got those that we were celebrating.
So I'm going to read a little bit of this what it says underneath the video here, so you can see here. I'm see if I can get rid of that deal that's hiding it right now. There we go. It says at 4, Sheila was asked, and she confirmed she would do anything for her father wants to do. So let's stop right there. So talk a little bit about what you mean by what that was the day.
I was marching out in the meadow. I had a horse, and out in the meadow, Dad made sure we each had a horse, my sister and I. And so there I was marching out in the meadow. They're really nice people, but they just don't get it. Some days today, I'm still saying that same thing, that they're really nice people and they just don't get it, having no idea how powerful that would be, that he would keep reminding me of it 40 years later. Okay. This is what I want you to do. This is what you need to know. And this is what I want you to do. But I was marching the meadow, and then boom, I'm on my back. And he said, "Don't you want to do what I want you to do?" And I said, "Well, I'll do anything you want me to do." And he kept reminding me every time that I said, I don't think I could go to a men's ministry. It was Promise Keepers at the time. And I said, "I think you should send this guy." And I went around the world interviewing guys and telling God how wonderful these guys were, and they should send a guy. And they're selling 65, 70,000 books a month. I've never even sold that many any time in my life, and still. And God kept saying, "I asked them," and they told you no. And so finally I said, "Okay." I said, "I just can't take any more guys telling you no." And he said, "Well, for the same 3.5 years, you've been telling me no." So that really hit me. And then everywhere he took me after Promise Keepers, he took me all around the world. And when he did that, he sent a 4-year-old.
Back up, Sheila, because I'm going to go through the whole journey here first.
He sent a 4-year-old to draw the picture of my farm. And every picture from every country of a 4-year-old drawing it is identical. God told him, "You got to put the barn in, you got to put the house, you got to put a little dog, you got to put," and they put everything was identical, and the glory from heaven of me in the tall grass in the meadow. It just was so profound. And the parents didn't even know the children drew these pictures, none of the parents. And at every nation I was in, Father sent a 4-year-old with a picture of what happened to me that very day that you see this picture.
Okay, so that's where you're wrapping that story around. I'm sorry, I see where you're going now. So wrapped around to when you're on all these different areas, you would have said different 4-year-old in each country would bring you pictures reminding you of this time, your first conversation with the Lord God Almighty, right?
Yes.
Again, you always say Father because you're the personal relationship with the Father, but obviously you have a relationship with Jesus Christ as well, because it's Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, right? So you're kind of talking about all three.
Well, and the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost are one. The Hebrew word is Ishad. That's in the new book. Right. Ishad is absolute unity. Mm-hmm. And the reason Constantine broke it into 3 that we're supposed to do this with the Holy Spirit and do this with Jesus and claim all of our healing through Jesus. And the Father has multiple names. I put all of them in the Wake Up Call book, and then starting on page 8 and Always Speak
Yeah,
Life.
we've
He
studied
has
those. Yeah.
multiple names with nature and character of each, and we never learned them, which is why they got upset with the tribes, is because the Native Americans were singing to Yahweh and Yehovah. They were singing all these things. We didn't know what that was, or I'm not saying us, our generation, but they didn't know, and they were concerned about all of that. But that's the truth. He has multiple names,
Right.
and those are the names that are tight for him. And that's why when he gave all of that to me, I put it in a Wake Up Call book, and I put it in Always Speak Life.
Right. So you'll find out. I think everything's on Amazon, right? Just FYI, is that the one of the best?
Mm-hmm.
But
They're on
yes,
Amazon,
right.
Barnes and Noble. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at the Sheila Holm page right there. But so if I go back to this time, you're at 4 years old. You're definitely got a relationship with the God of the universe, right? And you are,
Mm-hmm.
and then you said all these 4 year olds kind of point you back to just remind you about this time that you promised him you would do anything for him. And that's kind of a relationship that we all need to get to. We're talking about getting close to God, and we could go a whole hour on that subject, but I want to kind of get through the whole journey. Then, that's what this first part of this video talks about. Is there Sheila after 4, Sheila was asked and confirmed she would do anything Father wanted her to do. Now here you are at 10. Oh geez, it's going to be hard because every time I try to pause, it's actually I miss what the bottom of it says. So let's see if I can do this without. At 4, that's at 4. Now here's at 10. At 10, Sheila realized
That's
her
my
mission
school
was
picture.
only understood by her parents. Okay, so talk a little bit about that.
Well, I thought the kids at school thought when you're a kid, you think everybody thinks the same way you do. And so I was right back to they're really nice people, but they don't understand it either, you know? So, because we're drawn away from it. I've told all the parents of the 4-year-olds that have come to me, and it's happened many times in America too, do logs, start saying, what is God saying to you today? Because they've not departed from the Father.
Hmm.
And so ask him what God's saying to you today. What is God focused on? And keep asking him and then log it. When I met another gal from Central Coast, California, Camarillo area, above LA, she came out 20 years later at 24 and showed me all these books of all these logs. And she didn't have a question that she didn't have an answer to until that week. And then I show up on the 20th anniversary of the day of meeting her.
Mm, wow. Okay.
Came
So
through
that,
high school, came through college, and still is tight with the Father and still impacting lives in the corporate world.
yeah. So again, at 10, Sheila realized her mission was only understood by her parents. So that's kind of nice that the parents at least knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't even have that. So now here you are going next from corporate director to owner of a corporation. So talk about that. How'd that happen?
Well, I was working with doctors. I wanted to turn around. I was a human resources director, and I wanted to turn around work comp because it's so fraudulent. And again, I was in California, but it's the same everywhere. You have to work under the table, get paid under the table to put food on the table. And that
Hmm.
was infuriating for me as a human resources director because we needed them back to work. But they have to stay out until the attorneys get their payments. And so the timing is not always what we would hope it would be for the people. And so I wanted to turn that around, and I started working for doctors. And then after I was with them, they were in the red when I met them. I got them in the black. I opened multiple new offices for them. We were going gung ho because we were right aligned with what we should be doing. And then all of a sudden, he got so much into the greed and the money. The main owner, he told the attorneys at a luncheon, because I was their marketing director, he said, just tell me what medical decision you want on this case, and I'll give it to you.
Whoa.
When we left the luncheon, I said, I can't work for you anymore. And he said,
Wow.
well, you can't just leave me because what we've done on building this. And I said, I'll give you 30 days to clean it up. And he said, give me 90. And at the end of 30, he was still doing the same thing at the end of 60. So I didn't stay the 90. I left. And then the attorneys in San Diego County started getting invitations to their corporation events and using my name as an RSVP, but they said we can never talk to her anymore. Where is she? They finally said Sheila left us. And so they all wrote letters to SBA. I was pre-approved for a corporation doing the same thing, medical legal evaluations. I didn't even know what to do about it because you can't split money with a doctor in America. That's against the law. And
Right.
so I had to set up what's called a practice management agreement. So I did that. We were extremely successful, and it made the guys mad who were making decisions with the judges behind the scenes. And so that's my next phase.
Wow. And so if I had to back up, this is medical fraud, really, right? This is attorneys agreeing with judges to make decisions based on getting back end pay. Is that right?
It's medical fraud, it's judicial fraud,
Hmm.
and it's RICO, it's racketeering. You have a criminal enterprise where you have a planned agenda for a certain result, and everybody involved in that criminal enterprise has to stay in that same mode until they conclude. And so it's in essence a mafia structure of where you're told what to do. And so the judge, if you do this for me, you get a $10 million case. I get a new you get a new Jaguar. If I only get 7 million, all you get is a Cadillac Escalade. So they just evaluate according to, and those kind of things happen behind the scenes. And so I had no idea going into the corporation and being so successful that I would end up in a corporate hostile takeover where they would be seizing my accounts, emptying my house, and all of it illegally. I was at the law library, I think, more than any attorney because they have those law books in their offices. So I was in a law library so much everybody thought I was an attorney, and I started speaking like an attorney, but I found out that attorneys know that they only win about 50% of their cases. You win some, you lose some. It's not based on the truth. And I learned that after all of this.
Wow. And so at this point in time, you just quit. You're starting your own business to help people. And the reason you left is because you saw the fraud, correct?
I
And
heard it.
yeah, and is that
If you're going to give them a medical opinion just to win a case, I can't do this with you.
wow. Wow. And is this now do you think this is an isolated incident in the California, San Diego area? You think it's a worldwide
No,
thing?
you'll find out in just a few seconds.
Okay, great.
It
So
was
now
huge.
So now here we are. She's starting her own business, going well, trying to get away from the fraud. And now here we come to illegal actions by judges and attorneys in the justice system were choosing to operate against Sheila, her corporation, and the rule of law. And here she is again. Sheila provided truth, which exposed Superior Court judges and trial attorneys who decided cases before the trial, and their criminal actions have legal consequences. Okay, I'll stop there. Go ahead. Any clarification there?
No one had ever taken. Does that sound like where we are in our country right now?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever took these judges on. Nobody told me when I was doing all of this, and nobody told me within the FBI. There are watchdog agencies in every state, I believe. If there's one in California, they're probably everywhere. But the watchdog agencies have never even put a judge in jail overnight. Nobody told me.
Mm-hmm.
And it really didn't matter because they were destroying my corporation. And my mother said, you either need to clean all this up or come back to Nebraska. And I dug my heels in and I said, God, we're in San Diego. We're not going back to Nebraska, are we? And so the Father helped me understand the depth of all of this evil and how to take these guys on. And the economic fraud deputy DA I spent 7 years taking on the judges with the FBI because, and then until it was a federal case, I had to also work with the economic fraud deputy DA. So in 96, they were put on trial. 98, they were sentenced on federal RICO charges. And then in 2001, I had the economic fraud DA arrested in his office. I can't say I sent them out that morning, but I provided all the evidence and documentation to proceed. They arrested him in his office. It took until 2003 to convict him and sentence him on felony fraud. all they had him do was teach golf at an exclusive academy in La Jolla for a year, and then they expunged his law license, expunged his felony, and gave him his law license back. So
Oh my
when
goodness.
my mom said, "What did you do?" I said, "I got a few under the quicksand, but it filled right back in." But if I hadn't known all of this, if I hadn't been changed on different social security numbers this whole time, if I hadn't lived through this, I wouldn't know the underbelly of the justice system, or the underbelly of the credit bureau system, or the underbelly of the judicial system, or the financial system. I got to learn all of it. And
Yeah.
Father took my hand and brought me through.
So if I had to go back, Sheila, to this 96, 98, and 2001 and 2003, a success of exposing fraud. How did you expose that? Did you go to who, and how did that actually result in some justice initially?
Well, I went to attorneys because it's malpractice with attorneys. But what they said was, this is so much deeper than malpractice of an attorney, because the day that they had my kangaroo court, it was like a day and a half I was in court, and they already took everything. So it was just a complete joke. And so I ran to the presiding judge's office. And it was a long way, because they've now put a walkway in between the two buildings, and from the old system to the new system. And so I'm running to get to his office. And she said, "Well, let me give you some water. Let me give you some water. You need to sit down." And I said, "No, I just need to talk to him." And she said, "Well, let's go in and have you sit in his office and just wait for him." So I sit in the office, and up above his desk behind him is an oil painting that someone painted for me when I was taking an adult school oil painting class. And I painted 10 huge paintings to cover the walls in the new office, because I didn't have any money for art or decorating the office. And so there was that painting, and I said, "Oh my God." So I ran back to the to my attorney, and I said, "You're not going to believe, even the presiding judge is in on this." And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" So I told him, and he goes, "Sheila, stop." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I make my living in this justice system. I'm not going to get involved in this." And so I met with attorneys as to what to do. And those were
Wow.
the malpractice attorneys. And they said, "This is so much deeper. You need to really be meeting with the FBI." So they actually videotaped my, in essence, testimony about what everything that had happened to me that was all against the law. I knew the laws
Now,
that
can
they
I ask you
broke. I knew that
one
how they did
clarification
this.
question real quick? So what year did they take everything away? Because we're talking about 98, 2001, 2003. And
Oh,
so,
no, no, no. This is when they were being sentenced. They took everything away because they did a hostile takeover on my corporation. So they were
what year was
seizing my
that?
accounts
What year was that?
and taking my furniture before they even filed a case in the court system. It was that far beyond law.
So I'm sorry. So when did they destroy your corporation and take your Social Security number away? What was that, before 1998?
Oh yeah, 1991.
1991. Wow. So okay.
1991
So
is
this is
when
back
they
here,
did
this
this.
picture,
That
right?
was the I wore a tuxedo suit jacket. It turned into that picture on there, but I wore a tuxedo suit jacket at the opening of the
Right.
but I took all this to the news, and I was going to have a job on ABC, and then when they found out what I did to the judges, then ABC decided that they were going to kind of hold off for a little bit. But
Wow.
that was me the day I was going
Okay.
to sign on
So
to
I missed
ABC
this.
News.
So if I had to clarify this, in 1991 is when they destroyed you because you left, and they didn't want you to have a company to help, right? And
I didn't leave. That's when I had the corporation since 1987.
okay, so from
And
87 to
then
91.
1991, I came home from my first vacation in 10 years, and my house was empty. And you have a 10-day claim of exemption for a corporation. And the sheriff's department, after I paid money to an attorney, did the whole filing with the court, because you only have 10 days to do it. You have to remember what's in the left corner of the living room. Then you got to go get the receipts. It was a complete
Wow.
debacle.
So I
And
so
I put all
so
this documentation together and went to court. And you know what they said? The sheriff said, "Yeah, we were there, but we didn't have an inventory," and they brought their own moving van. You see how
wow.
illegal all this is?
So
So the
so
sheriff
the
is supposed
so
to have an
the
inventory.
so you're okay. So we had jumped to 2003. What happened? So in 1991 is when you they take everything from your house. They take and all this illegal stuff happens, and then you had to go. It took from 1991 to 1996 or 1998 until you really got any justice at all. Is that right?
Yeah, I never got justice. They met with justice in 1998.
I got you.
1996 is when they were arraigned because the grand jury indictment came out in 1996,
Okay.
and
So
that's when it
so
hit the news.
so how did you survive from 91 to 96? What were you doing there? Because they destroyed
The
your life, right?
father,
What?
the father,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I was 12 years, it was 7 years getting them to justice in 98, and then it took from and on the very day that they were sentenced and went to prison, that's the same day that the economic fraud DA put a federal tax lien against my corporation
Wow.
in the Superior Court, okay? Because I was doing this, it was like a payback that he was supposed to do to me. But IRS is federal. There was no amount owed by the corporation. Our file was cleared and closed, but he was able to do that, so the IRS still made me pay. So, but he put it in the state court. All of this is not lawful. All of it, I started learning heavily. This is federal law. This is state law. IRS is federal. This is state court judges being sentenced. Then we got the county guy who's the deputy DA. And so all of this was done while I was working temporary jobs at $3 and $4 less than what I paid entry-level employees per hour. I mean,
Wow.
it just is what it took. You just do what you have to do to get this done. So that was 12 years of my life. Because then when I found out that he had done that, I went to the IRS. They said, well, you still have to pay it. So my attorneys worked with me to get that resolved and wrote the letter to the IRS and explained everything that they did illegally. And then, so that got resolved. And then it took until 2003 to get the economic fraud deputy DA sentenced on felony fraud. But then in 2004, after teaching golf at an academy in La Jolla, exclusive area of San Diego, is all he had to do. They got his felony expunged and got him his law license back. So, but
Wow.
but it showed me how they're all connected. They're
Yeah.
all together. So that's why I'm not trying to get ahead, but in 2012, the top guy in the FBI just wanted to know how I'm coming through all this and not committing suicide. And I said, sir, God, it's easy with God. He just walks you through. Because by this time, God had taken me all over the world and shown me how people everywhere in the world that have nothing have everything because they're walking with Him.
Yes. Amen.
And so
Amen.
that was 98 to 2000, 98, 99, 2000. I wasn't home except to do laundry and repack. And no matter where he sent me, the people with nothing in this world were able to do everything with him. Everything is possible with him. And he proved everything in the scriptures to me. It just was so miraculous.
Amen. Amen. So I'm going to go to this next part of the video. That now says Sheila's identification charges due to identity theft and FBI requirements, 1992, 1995, 1998, 1999, warned by the agents to follow all instructions. Now, I want to back up a little bit. So what do you mean by Sheila's identification charges due to identity theft and FBI requirements?
The FBI said that it was my own fault when they changed my social security number in 92. Because I still stayed in San Diego and I didn't change my driver's license. And when they gave me the new social security number, they said, don't let it merge with your old records. So every one of these changes, I had to change. I couldn't go through the same temporary agencies to get work. I couldn't, I couldn't live in the same address. I couldn't do all of these things, right?
And so
And
this
I
is like
didn't know
this
for
is like the
years.
government just taking away your social security number and to make your life
Uh,
hell. Is that right?
Well, when they give you a new social security number, they already knew that illegals were using them as soon as they were issued. I didn't know that. And they've known it's all been illegal aliens that have caused identity theft, and I didn't know that. Um,
And
and
so
so
but
92, they only,
what was the original reason why they took your original social security number away?
They said that to save me so the judges couldn't destroy me or kill me was to do this process.
Ah,
So it's like
okay.
at your own expense, we'll try and give you some witness protection. The joke was my record was merged the whole time. Everything that it cost me to do all of this
But
was
so it
all
didn't
for
help
naught.
you. It was supposed. They said it was going to help you, but it did not help you.
And then you have identity theft against you because every time a social security number is issued, by the time I got to 98, someone had already caused identity theft against me before I even got the new social security card.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So the FBI acted like they were helping you, and they knew they weren't.
Right.
Okay. That is wild. And now, and everybody else they put through this pretty much committed suicide because they basically destroy your life.
Yeah. They destroy your life. You have no way to have a home, have a car, you have no way to function.
Wow. And so I'm gonna read this last part here. So this is that requirements of the FBI, and it says at the bottom here, after all these years, warned by the agents, follow all instructions required by agents, or Sheila would not be protected by her record and will not be secured. And that was a lie, right? Correct. That was
Yeah,
that.
it was a lie.
Yeah,
It
that was a
was a
complete
lie.
lie.
And it's called dire consequences language to get you to do what they want you to do. But then I still believe the FBI was legitimate, and it was hard to explain to my family because they said, I used to believe that too, but guys, this is the truth. And it's hard because they're the FBI. You know what I mean? They had a lot of credibility in our life.
Now, so you learned the hard way. The FBI has been corrupt for a long time.
Long time.
Yes, and so now that sets you for travel, right? So what happens at what year is this when you started traveling here?
98, 99. That God sent me around the world on his dime.
All right, and this is kind of a cool story. So talk a little bit about how that was all funded on his dime.
I had no way to do anything. I said, I can do nothing. He said, through me, you can do all things. I said, yeah, what can you do with me now? And I went to places I'd never been to in my life. I went to the nations. I didn't know the Kingdom of Tonga existed. I went to places I hadn't even went to a coronation of a king in Africa because of God.
Wow, wow, and that's with no social security number. You thought you weren't able to survive, but then God showed you, nope, I'll do it, and that was through just other people funding things. All of a sudden, is there a couple examples about what happened in Australia or any of these cities that showed you that it was
It's
God's
all
hand?
God. It's all God tapping people on the shoulder and saying, I need her. I need to, for example, Australia to Tonga. I needed another $600. And the joke was, I never had anything when I left home. I was blessed tremendously wherever I was by all sorts of sources and people, and they were just so gracious, so grateful I was there to speak with them about what is really going on in the world. And so, but then by the time I left, there was nothing left. Well, when I was in Australia, I still had 600 Australian dollars. But God had wanted me to go to Tonga because the Minister of Finance said, surely we must change or we will die. Well, he's putting a curse on the entire nation. And so I said, God, if you want me to go, I'll go. But $600, I can't get there. That's just half of it. So what did God do the hour before I was before I was leaving Australia? God tapped somebody on the shoulder and said, you missed that first meeting. He's the financial guy for the church I met with the day I arrived. And he said, the least you can do is give her $600 so that she can go on her next journey, and you can get the notes from her if you give her the $600. And I thought, well, how am I going to give him the notes? My hostess and the family was told this. So she grabbed my passport, raced to the travel agency because had to change the flight arrangements, right? So she goes to the travel agency. Her son and daughter pick me up. We go to the airport. We get to the airport. She swings in with the ticket. I mean, it's that tight all the time, no matter where he has sent me. And it involves for testimony for everybody that's around me. Everybody
Yeah,
that's around me has as strong of a testimony of what is happening with me as what they can share with people about how they were involved. It was so amazing. And it's been that way the whole time. And so she gives me this ticket, and the guy in front of me has an Australian accent, of course, and so he turns around and he says, "Are you the American?" I can't do the accents for all today, and I said, "Yes, I'm the American." you were the one who was here for 7 weeks. And I said, yes, it was supposed to be 7 days. 7 days. Yes, I've been here 7 weeks. He goes, oh, well, he said, I'm going to get a special seat for us. I know the pilot. I take this flight quite often. I was the one that was in Hong Kong when you were here, and I didn't get to meet with you, but God said you'd give me some notes if I send $600. Was it helpful? And there you see, I've only been not even an hour, and God's getting me in touch with the man who gave me that blessing in order to go. So we sit next to each other. We get to Sydney, and the man hands me 50 and pays for the cab to get to the international airport from the local airport. And I said, well, you've already paid for this. He said, well, God said it's going to help you on your next journey. As soon as I go inside the airport, they need $50 for the baggage fee because I was there so long and got so many gifts. My overage on weight cost exactly the $50 that I just got. So every trip has been with nothing. And you'll see that in my Faith Walk book. There's 7 months of connecting all the dots like this. That's what God did everywhere. And the Kingdom of Tonga fed into the next trip because the day I got home, I was gone so long, I ended up going to England the next day and then working with the ambassador from Tonga. I mean, it's just how God lines things up. He kept telling me, I know the end from the beginning. I know what I need you to be doing today. And so that's why surrendering to him becomes easier because you know that you don't know what's going on and you
Yeah.
don't know where you're headed and you don't know why. But if you say, I will go, you
That's
can send me.
awesome. And then
Amazing what he
Scotland
can
and
do.
Denmark and Sweden and France. You had not a dime to your name, right? And
No,
Norway and Africa. And then we come back to
no
this.
credit cards, no checking account, no checks, no debit card, no credit cards, no phone, no car, nothing. And he did
Wow.
all of this.
Wow. And so is there anything you wanted to highlight just real quickly about why you think God sent you to all these places?
Well, he proved a lot to me. When you see England, you only see it once, but there was a year, I think it was 99, where he sent me 7 times in 12 months to England. It was hilarious.
Hmm.
And every time I went, because I'd gone from having a dollar, always a dollar with me, I'd grown to a $5 bill. I always used to keep the dollar bills at the top of the stairs in a very nice looking jar and just, not like they're going to expand. You add water and you have more money, but I just sitting in a jar. And so I always had a $5 bill and I would head off to England with a $5 bill in my wallet, and I would be blessed tremendously. He would send me to multiple nations out of England. That was a pivot point for me constantly. And so he'd send me to all these other nations. And then when I would come home after all the exchange rate and everything else, what I had left was $5.
Woo!
So I said, this is getting pretty crazy after 7 trips. And he said, no, he said, it's my training. And I said, it's your training for what? He said, I'm training you on my currency because I want you to know. And now you're confirming I don't need your money when I send you. So I
Wow.
left with a $5 bill. I came home and I had a $5 bill, but it's the same as leaving with nothing and coming home with nothing for the next trip. So I always had the $5 bill by the time the next trip was planned, and all I really had time to do was do laundry and repack. And he
Wow.
took care
And
of
where were you
flights, he
living?
took care of the shuttles to the airport, he took care of everything.
So when you were at home with the $5 at the top of the stairs, where was that? Where was that?
Encinitas, and I've been in San Diego County the whole time since
Okay.
college.
So you stayed there. Okay. And
Hmm.
then you went to Denmark and Sweden and Africa. And I'm sure there are stories there, but to get through this, we still have these requirements here. So I'm going to read this
Hmm.
bottom part again. This says here. Again, now 2001, 2004, and there's probably something at the bottom, but it's not my.
And then this.
Yeah, and then this happened. So this is one more big thing. In 2003, Talking Points memo submitted to the Senate Banking and Finance Committee. Let me read the bottom part of this. I just went back a little bit. Sheila wrote the Talking Point memo requested by the Senate Banking and Finance Committee in 2003 for the Home Identity Theft Law. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I had my whole family watching. I was watching. I couldn't afford to go to the Rose Garden, but some family members went to the Rose Garden. They never said home identity theft law. They just called it the second identity theft law.
Mm-hmm.
So I called the Senate Banking and Finance Committee chair and the person who referred me to the Senate Banking and Finance Committee. They both said the same thing. You should just be honored that you were able to serve your country. I said, but you don't understand. I'm trying to explain to my family that I know now how you guys are, how this is all happening. And I'm tracking all the numbers, and this is all in my Nation Restoration book. I knew exactly how it was happening. All this identity theft, I knew what we had to stop. By 2003-4, they already had a housing program, taking only the good credit off of our Social Security numbers that they're using and destroying our credit. They are taking only the good credit for them, putting it on a tax ID number, tax identification number, letting them set up a whole different system because those are protected by our government while they're not protecting the Social Security numbers. I knew all of this. I had lived all of this, and nobody would listen, and nobody would do anything about it. And because I was tracking all the numbers, the Federal Trade Commission quit putting the numbers out on their website.
Wow. So take us back to what this talking points memo said and did.
Well, it showed all of the criminal activity was all illegals, and that the FBI knew it was illegal aliens. They don't call them illegal immigrants, but I was told to be politically correct, Sheila. You shouldn't use the word aliens. I said, well, immigration is a legal process. This infiltration is illegal aliens, foreign nationals. They are not in the immigration process, and nobody would listen. Nobody would listen because, to be politically correct, we had to call them illegal immigrants. And that's what the media was. These are the lies. The media was doing it. The people in every category were doing it. If you use the word illegal aliens, they would distance and shun you. Because you're not being fair to the people who are just trying to have a better life. And that's what that stupid real estate program, where they only took the good credit for them in 2003. All of this is in my Nation Restoration book. They set up an entire real estate program. Bank of America was in on it, Wells Fargo, I think Citigroup was in on it, Citibank. But they had three main banks that were in on it, and the government helped fund them. So what they did, they funded their down payment. They funded them to have reduced interest rate. They funded them to, you see what I mean? They did all this. Why? Because they also deserve the American dream. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is a real program funded by our government. All of this and all of the documentation is all in my Nation Restoration book.
All right, and so that's right here, the Nation Restoration book, right there. And if
that's the one Flynn's wanted number 2 since 21.
Help me understand the 2003 identity theft law. Is it basically is that still
well? There was one in 98. I helped. Our congressman in San Diego was the chair of getting it written in 98. So I gave him all of my documented evidence to prove to him what needed to happen. And then by 2003, we didn't even have a penal code to even arrest someone until 2001. Now, here's the joke. I'm talking to the FBI, and all of these people are illegally in America, so they've already committed a crime, right?
Right.
They don't feel they can arrest them until there's a law. I said, when did we have to start writing laws for illegals?
Right.
When did we have to start waiting for a penal code to arrest an illegal in America? Right. When did that happen? And they said, I don't know what you mean. I said, sir, fraud is fraud. That came out of my mouth. I don't know what God had me say that for, but I just told him, I said, fraud is fraud. They're committing fraud crimes, and they should be able to be arrested. He goes, no, we have to have a penal code for identity theft. I said, excuse me. I mean, it was so infuriating. It was so infuriating to live through this process. But again, if I hadn't lived through that, I wouldn't have had the strength or understanding to write the new book or the book series. I needed to learn all of these things and realize we're so far off the mark. But how is it that they're not protecting a number they give us? And then they wanted a national ID number under George W. Bush, right? And I said, you don't need a national number. You can't even protect the Social Security number. It's just like giving us credit cards. And then when there's a credit card fraud, what happens? Somebody steals your wallet. And what do you have to do in order to get gas? Put in your zip code. What's in your wallet if they stole your wallet and are using your card? your address with your zip code. Do you see what I
Right.
mean? So in Social Security, now they don't even have to use the whole number. They only use the last four.
Yeah.
So all of this I learned, and nobody's doing anything to stop the access to commit the crimes against legal Americans. I had no idea about the 45 points. They didn't want us to survive it. That's why they're bringing all these other people in to do the work, because 2020 was supposed to be a complete genocide of us.
Right. Right. And so
20
if
means
you,
recycle unto death. And if we would have known that, I wasn't working on book 6 about the pandemic and et cetera at that time. But since then, I've studied all the way back, and I got back to the 1300s. And every 20 year and every century, there's a big pandemic. And 100 years ago, it wasn't from Spain and it wasn't the flu. Just look at the CDC website. And guys, they're not a government agency. Why they keep saying whatever the CDC does, Americans have to follow. All of this is a lie. All of this, we're living in a whole swamp of lies. And CDC archives confirm it was the H1N1 virus. All these viruses are a venom, a poison. They're all created in a lab. And
yeah.
the H1N1 virus was the reason 100 years ago in 1920. And now in 2020, it was all made in a lab. All of these are made in a lab. The bioweapon targeting they're using on us is made in a lab.
Right.
They've used it
So
against the
let me come back
military
to this,
as
Sheila, because I want to
practice.
make sure I understand the 2003. So is this
Yep.
still law, and did it help?
It's a law on the books,
Okay.
but it didn't do anything because they're not going to do anything to illegals.
I
This is the
gotcha.
first time with ICE doing what they're doing right now to illegals. And look at all the people in political layers that are supporting us to fight ICE and not let those people be deported.
So that was 2004. And it says now we move to 2005 here. NUI letter with red signature from Social Security required to return the original number to use with a new photo for a new driver's license. Uh,
But let's pause just a moment. Do you know what they kept issuing? The 1998 Social Security number. Why did they keep reissuing the driver's license in 1998? In the 95 change, I started with a 624 number.
mm-hmm.
In 98, they bounced me back 12,000. The numbers always progress forward. So here's the number they gave me: 612, which is 666, 06, 0006.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So even though they let me do this whole legal process, which all of this is expensive, and get a permanent absentee ballot at that address, thinking I'm done, this will be my last change, they put me right back to that B number from 1998 that takes me back to that Social Security number.
Right. So they're
They
still
still did
punishing
it
you in
even last year.
2005. In 2005, you're still
Mhm.
being punished, basically, right?
Even last year. That's what you'll see in this.
Wow.
Even last year.
So here we go on 2005. However, 1998 B Saver's license was reissued. Now your books start coming up. So talk a little bit about this.
Well, Ken Blanchard, I helped him with the one-page leadership model. He was his first speaking engagement was when we brought him to our management club at Sony Corporation, just up the hill from his office in Rancho Bernardo near San Diego. And so he said, your information, because I got a job with the federal government and I taught entrepreneurial courses, and they had to start a business and be successful in it for me to be paid. And so I made sure they were successful. So that was the copyrighted material from the course structure that I did. And here's the joke. That's 2007. And in 2009, when they made me change my ID again, I couldn't use the Social Security number because I was under a federal contract with a federal number. And when you change the federal number, you can't continue the contract. So I only had the contract for a couple of years, but I had income during those 2 years, which was great. So when I did that, Ken Blanchard did the forward for me, and because it was one-page business plan. And if anyone wants to look up one-page business plan on Amazon, they can see that a guy did it who was famous. He had a guy do a forward, but they moved the book out in the marketplace so fast. The word forward was FORWARD. The word on a book is FOREWORD. It's a forward, not a forward movement. And so they got it out quickly. They charged $39.95. I think it's still that. And then they did a CD with it. But so I had to change the title, and God said it's a better title, 7-Step Business Plan instead of one page. But it is still on one page so that your entire team can stay up to date on your business plan, and you can just look at it every month. How is this working? Is this working? Is that working? So those 7 points are the things you want to stay on top of in your business. And then when they did it in Latin America edition in Spanish, they had to put a man on the front because they said they wouldn't buy a book with a woman's photo on the front. And I said, you don't have to put my photo on the front. You got a woman's name on the front. But anyway, so
All
anyway,
right.
that's why it has a man on that one.
All right. And
And then
then
God sent me all over the world with that.
because of this book is where you went all over the world right there. All right.
Yeah, I
Now we're
taught I taught at Buckminster Fuller, and they won't do it in America. People won't pay for it, but it's a phenomenal entrepreneurial program. Phenomenal. So
Mhm,
Japan was just Japan.
mhm,
Shanghai was just Shanghai. But when I went to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, I taught the Buckminster Fuller School for Entrepreneurs.
mhm.
And then I went to Shanghai for separate meetings that God set up. And then I went on to Shenzhen the next week because 2 weeks after Malaysia, they taught it in Shenzhen. And then I taught the Business School for Entrepreneurs of Buckminster Fuller's outline in Shenzhen, China.
Wow,
I
wow.
mean, I've never, God did all of this. I had no way to go anywhere. This is all
Wow.
so amazing.
Yeah, and then the ongoing issue because of this is now we're in 2009 or in 2011. It says after weeks of meeting with an advocate involved in 2011, instead of the B series driver's license, the F series driver's license was issued. So what was that all about? Mhm.
What they found is that they found that they were involved in not protecting my information. So they put me onto a whole different F series system,
And this is the
saying that that
FBI.
would protect me.
The FBI.
And so that driver's license was separate and set apart from the DMV system in California. And
Okay.
so they said that way I was going to be protected. I was never going to have any more problems again. And so I make a Thanksgiving meal. I put it in the trunk of my car. I head off to Arizona. And yes, I was going a couple miles over the speed limit. And I get stopped by 3 Arizona cars
Mm-hmm.
on the side of the road for an hour and a half.
Wow. And so it didn't
Homeland
help.
Security camera. Yep. And
Mhm.
the first guy just was talking about doing a ticket. Then when he ran a background on me, I didn't exist in the system.
Wow.
So I was no longer an American. And so then he called a second guy, and that guy had me get out of the car and took a whole bunch of pictures with they have a new Homeland Security camera that identifies you as an American. And so he took a bunch of pictures and that didn't work. And so then they sent the big muckety muck supervisor out. So that was the third car that came out. By then, I've been on the side of the road for an hour and a half, and the supervisor made them give me all of my ID documents back because he said, there's no way this is a California issue. They've messed up her record because there's no way the car is paid off. It's in her name. And all of these ID documents are in her name as the same person who owns the car. And so they said, and we've decided we're not going to arrest you because it's Thanksgiving weekend. I had no idea they thought they should arrest me because I'm not an American and here I am on American roads. But I look
Wow.
like an American. I don't look like an illegal alien, I guess. So
Yeah.
they were going to arrest me.
Yeah. So all this happened because of the original them taking away your social security number and trying to say they're protecting you when weren't. That's
Yeah, they said that the F series was going to make it easy for me. Now you can imagine, now you have to change everything about your life because now you're not even on the same numbering system on a driver's license. You have a completely different social security number again. Okay. And so then I come up to the 2014 renewal, and guess what happens?
she was promised renewal in 2011 driver's license, a new photo required again. However, 1990 B driver's license reissued again. No promises were fulfilled. New promise F series license will be reissued for 2019 renewal with a photo. Wow. And so what did that
And
cause?
then I get a phone call. Then I get a phone call. I did not realize nobody put a judge in jail overnight, and now I didn't realize no civilian. It is the FBI who was supposed to turn in everything to help me be protected to the federal grand jury when they turned in the other guys. They didn't. And so because they didn't, that's why I've been left out in the wind this whole time, and I didn't know. So now here I am in 2016 being invited by the federal grand jury in San Diego as a civilian, which has never happened. They don't think in America, but it's never happened in San Diego. And so I just said it's first civilian ever asked to submit their own federal grand jury case in 2016. And then it took until March of 2017 to get the FOIA. And so that's what you're going to see next.
2016, first civilian invited to submit a case to the San Diego federal grand jury. 2017, father prompted Sheila to title her revised case FBI FOIA Targeted Individual. She did not know about the targeted individual chart until 2024. So did you already talk about that chart? Did I?
It's not just the FBI. You can see some symbols on there as to what we're up against.
Nazis everywhere.
As to what happens to people who try and bring the truth to the public. This is what happens to you. Starts out with under the DOJ and the FBI, but then it moves into all these other areas. And you have all these other groups doing things to you about your life that you don't even know. You don't even know how it's happening. You just know your life is messed up and you're trying to keep it as clean as possible. So
wow. So you became a targeted individual, and they basically and so why are these Nazi signs here? Because they're just accusing you of being a Nazi when you're not? Is that what they're saying?
all of this is under that. The National Democratic Socialist Party is under Nazism, fascism. Mm-hmm. All of what we're dealing with goes back to the beginning. They were formed in 1792, and that's when they moved to D.C., and nobody realized that D.C. is a 10 square mile area that is not our land. They took it from us and made it their own sovereign territory, and then built their government structure over us. And what we didn't know, and this is in the FBI chapter in the new book, every single village, town, city, county, state is under a corporate structure with a local government structure hidden underneath it. And they let us vote on 4 people. We think we're voting for everybody. We're just voting for 4 people. And they have a merit-based system on how they select who the politicians and political leaders will be. And so it's not just been rigged elections now. It's been from the very beginning of our country. And number 13 in the new book, point 13 on the 45 points, is avoid all loyalty oaths. And so what we haven't understood is that the high nobles and the secret societies have been running everything since we were formed. In fact, our territorial governors were all high nobles and the Knights of Pythias. Our entertainers were high nobles, and all of these people that we're just finding out are a little bit different than we thought they were now. It's been going on since the very beginning of our nation. And so it's not just the last 5 presidents. It's not just the last 150 years. It's the whole time. So if I come back that's why.
Go ahead. If I come back to the targeted, go ahead and finish that sentence. I'm sorry.
That's why we haven't understood. We've been controlled by secret societies that are controlled by those thoughts, because there's only 2 kingdoms. So you're either aligned and tight with the Father, or you're operating with the other kingdom. And the 45 points are going to shock people. That's why God had me write the book backwards, is because we went down a slippery slope. We get to agree to number 3, and then they push number 4 on you, and then you agree to number 4, and they push number 5. And that's why the future generations are they're all the way over on the side of the world, completely away from the Father, and nobody really noticed it. Nobody noticed that this whole slippery slope has been going on the whole time. And that's why the generations, and they told us they were done with the generations. Remember, it quickly went from millennials in 2000 to what generations? X, Y, and Z. And we did not think they were done with us. And now Z's can't even buy a house, get a job to pay for anything, handle the car payment and a house. We did not realize, and look at how they gave up the industries. We're trying to bring back the textile industry, and they got rid of all the cotton mills and the steel. They got rid of all the steel plants, and we got rid of everything, and we didn't watch it happening. And that's why now to rebuild this, we've really got to get busy. We've really got to get busy.
I wanted to come back to this. The target individual is what you were, right? You were targeted and you went through this process. Is that correct? And then,
Yeah, and I didn't know it was this. And when God said, I said, I don't even know what to title this case because I had to actually do legal pleading paper and make this whole case about what they did to me.
okay, so let's go back to Trump here. Um, and so see if I've missed anything.
No, he took this case and he added a White House case number on it
Yeah,
immediately when it hit his office.
when you knew you were targeted, and then this is Trump actually had 2017. President Trump assigned a White House case number and sent Sheila's case to Inspector General over DOJ Michael Horowitz. Great progress until the end of 2019, then COVID.
Yeah.
Trump actually helped. Did that help you? How'd that help you? What Trump did there?
Well, we're going to clean all this up. I think that's why Trump's been saying at the end of the rallies in 2024 that those of you who were destroyed by the three-letter agency agents and their agency are going to receive full restitution. That'll be a great day. I don't know when that day is going to happen, but he gets it. They destroyed us to the point you've got no options.
Right,
So
right,
those who don't have God had nothing.
right. And this says 2017 prophetic word confirms Sheila's lifetime assignment. And so I think down here
That's when he told me you're a Joseph, not a Job. They kept stealing everything, but he said that what this prophet said, the same one that gave me the word you're going to see in 24, he said you're a Joseph, not a Job. You made an agreement before you came to do whatever it takes to save America. And he showed me this Roman numeral times New Roman in letters large, and then a little bit of red behind on one side. And I said, God, I need a big confirmation. If you think I'm here to save America, I can't do it myself. And so I was really panicked. And God said, you want a confirmation? I'll give you a confirmation. So it wasn't until 21 when the president left and went to Mar-a-Lago, he changed his stationery to Save America. And then last year I thought, well, I can't do this book anymore because he came out with the book Save America. The one with the picture of the fight, fight, fight? And the name of the book has Save America in the same big letters, Times New Roman, and it's in gold. And I said, oh, God, now I don't have a title for the book. And he said, I'll give you a better one. And that's when he hid to save souls, save America, save the world. In the midst of an eternal plan, always trumps a human plan. See, those little letters right in there are Times New Roman, and that's what it says. To save souls, save America, save the world. I just wanted to cry because here I'm telling him I don't have a title for the book, so there's no reason to get the book done because I was so exhausted. The research has been so intense, and I said, okay, now you let him steal the title, so now it's over. And then he gives me this title, and I was amazed. I was just amazed.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And so now, 2019, a new photo required to issue F-Series license. I'm so sorry not to laugh, but it's like, oh my goodness, they've done everything. Finally returned the F-Series license. However, 1998. Sorry, every time I lifted a B license. So what was that all about? What happened here in
They keep
2019?
going back to that Social Security number and that B license that they issued in 1998. They're not going to get off of that one. They're just
Wow.
not going to. And that merges everything in between. You know what I mean? All back to that Social Security number.
Right, right. And so then we start coming back to 2019, and it's a walk of it's a walk of faith. It's all about all this traveling and everything you did. So was that what book number was this?
These are all in order. So you're going to see the first trilogy, and then you're gonna see them all in order.
Right. So 20 and so did the walk of faith come out about 2019? Is that about right?
No, no, these all started in 2014.
Okay,
But
2014.
this is
Okay.
just now what he has done with me.
Okay. God's storehouse principle. Then it had the workbook to go with it, and God's currency. And that currency is what you're talking about, where you don't need any money, right? Basically.
We don't need the world's God said when the world currency collapses, I want my people to know how to operate with me so it won't affect them.
Ah. And then this is that okay, that and then after God currency, you had nation restoration, which you talked
Those
about
were all
that.
in 2014.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot. Wake up
And
call?
then these were all in 2015 up until Christmas. the
Okay.
Christmas book.
So I'm trying to see. This is A Search of Wigglesworth in One Accord. Sounds like a biblical title there. One body, one spirit,
It's
one hope.
it's it's all about unity. We believers have to come together against this evil.
Yes, amen. A peculiar people, discipleship of a peculiar people. That's what we're supposed to be, right? We're not supposed to be just like the
By
world.
a peculiar people. Because that is who we are. We're not the norm.
Yeah, always speak life. Right? That's that. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then always speak life, and then we have Christmas. All right, that was 2015, right? And For the Sake
Mm-hmm.
of America, one, two, three,
Those
four, five.
started in 2016, and they came out on every year. They came out on Yom Kippur, no matter what happened, no matter what happened in editing, no matter what happened with the title, or the cover doesn't work, or no matter what the issues were. The exact day that each of these five came out was on Yom Kippur, the day of repentance, atonement.
Wow. And that's the Forsake of America 3, Forsake of America 4, Forsake of America 5, a Warriors Battlefield Strategy Devotional.
He
That
put that on
20,
a target range. I thought that was a great background. That was so cute.
yeah, a trumpet call to believers. And this is the Georgia Guidestones. So they called you the Guidestones when you educated everybody about this, and then they went bye bye.
Mm-hmm.
That was when you were and when you say the ministry was up there, that was when the board, right? So talking about the Georgia Guidestones going down, and
That's
this
a
is
faith monument in Plymouth.
the faith.
So when the Guidestones went down on the 6th of July, um, they were already putting me up on Times Square for a week to honor my ministry and my books. And they were able to call him because I sent the picture. It was a friend at Reawaken, and I sent the picture of the Guidestones going down at 4 in the morning. And they were able to get a hold of New York in time to get New York to add that picture of the Guidestones going down on Times Square that same day. So, and then it was on Times Square for a week. And that's when I was invited by Clay Clark to talk only about the Guidestones at Reawaken that was in Virginia.
Awesome, awesome. And then obviously these were big. These two.
That's a faith monument, identical as a soldier monument, but no words because they knew at the time of the Civil War all they want to do is kill believers. We're on our own. A
Whoa.
real stark difference. This one's in Gettysburg at the National Cemetery, and the Faith Monument is up in a little cul-de-sac up in Plymouth, Massachusetts. I've given tours of it a couple of years, 3 years.
Okay.
There's a Cape Cod event with Gideon's Army, and so I've done tours with them
Faith
on the
Monument in
Faith
Plymouth,
Monument because those are the
Massachusetts.
4 pillars how to raise up a child and the way they should go. And all that was put together by the Pilgrims. And this Gettysburg one was put together by the soldiers, but you can tell they knew about the Faith Monument because it's the exact same design.
Right. So let's go to 2024 here. Unable to renew driver's license again because Sheila didn't exist in the systems of America again. Required to prove. Go ahead and finish this up.
Yeah, they had removed me as an American again in 24. They weren't
Wow.
going to let me go back to the F-Series license. So
Mm.
I had no option. They extended me so I would have time to get there and renew the license. But all they'd let me renew is the B-Series license in
Mm-hmm.
1998 again.
Wow.
They just don't want me to be free of that system. So, and then in 2024, that's when Father said, what he's revealing to me will seal their fate. And that's in this new book.
And that's in the new book. And the journey through the decades continues with Sheila Holm. And that's your new book. And so, guys, go grab a copy of this. This is actually talk a little bit about this. And obviously, this has got how many points in it? Did you say 45 points? There it is.
It's countering the 45 points. They use 45 points against every nation. What they're doing to us right now is our 45 points,
Right.
and they were at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it was so critical to get the understanding of the canal So all that research you're hearing from the president has all been because that's point 44, and God said to write the book backwards. So he was
Wow.
so good to me to give me that research.
That's wild. That is wild. So that beautiful. Thank you for us going through that. I love that video. But playing that video by itself, guys, go there at hisbest.org, and you'll hear the sound. And I think you'll get, now that you have the background of this, you're going to love that video. And also, we'll love her books. So go to hisbest.org, do some research on that. If I go to that website, that on the front page there is where you'll see that video. Okay, and I'm going to come over
If you
here.
back up on the video just a little bit and you go to we missed the map.
Okay, yeah.
We missed that map with the 3 eclipses because that was God's message to us. You don't get a full country covered in a solar eclipse. It doesn't happen. We had these 3 in 7 years. The next one isn't until 24 years from now, and it's just going to dip into North Dakota, Montana, and that's it. What God did was put his name, Aleph, on this, and that's number 1 in Hebrew, and Aleph is all truth and all life. You only have truth and life through the Father. Without truth and life, you have death. And so the only truth that you will have when you have total truth, because there are no versions of the truth, is through the Father. And that's what he was confirming with us by putting his signature. And when he put the one in 2024, the one that swings up from the Gulf up to Maine,
Right.
when you see that one actually went through exactly 6 towns named Nineveh. And I know people say there's one over in Virginia, but you see how far Virginia is off the direct path. And other people have said, well, there's one in Canada. This was American message for America direct from our Father.
Right.
And those 6 towns in Nineveh, 6 means several things, just like that Hebrew video that we shared. It said tent peg, and it means beast, it means human. Well, 6 for this, God said, was Ruach HaKodesh, which in Hebrew means the tight connection and the relationship that we have with the Father. And that's through the Holy Spirit. And so that those 6 towns of Nineveh, God said, you now need to teach them the Nineveh lesson. And these were things I did not put together. As much as he kept saying, about Jonah, every time I said I couldn't go to Promise Keepers and he sent another person, I got so sick of hearing that I was Jonah. And so I finally agreed to go. But God said, you need to go back and study it, because when Jonah went, they were taken captive by the king of Assyria, the 10 tribes of the north of Israel. They've not been back in Israel since 721 BC. And so there's a lot for us to learn. And the 2 in the south, all of this is in the personal letter in the new book in the front. And in 587, 586 BC, that's when the 2 lower tribes, Judah and Benjamin, were marched off to Babylon. So when God gave this story about Nineveh and said, you have to give my people the Nineveh lesson, he put it through 6 towns, because only in the tight relationship will you understand how much he fights for us, because he knows the end from the beginning. He knew they were going to do all this to us. If we were tight with him, we would be countering this. And now he's really saying, now you have to counter it for the future generations, or you'll never get enough beyond this, because he brought those tribes out and took them to uninhabited lands. There are no more uninhabited lands anywhere.
Right.
And so we've got to make this work. And so that's what he's telling us. And in Nineveh, Jonah went, and I didn't know, they'd only been there 9 years. I didn't know when Jonah went, because it's not in the scripture of Jonah. The little book of Jonah has, I think, one in between, Micah, and then it's Nahum. And when Jonah went, he gave the word to the king, you have 40 days or God's going to overthrow you.
Right.
So the king got real active, and everybody repented. And because everybody repented and everybody cried out to God all throughout Assyria, God relented. Then Nahum is sent to say, time's up. That's it. It's over. And so what happened is Nahum's there making that happen, and the father's meeting with the king in only the way father can. And you'll see at the end of the book of Nahum that in essence, he's telling the king, you'll never know where my people are. So what he did was extricate the 10 tribes that were taken captive 109 years before, 721 BC, And when he said he sent Nahum 100 years later, he said, now you know when I sent Jonah was 712. So they'd only been there 9 years. Now they've been there 100 years, and they've all gone to what? Gentile worship. So
Mm-hmm.
Father's message to us in those three eclipses in 2017 to 2024, and through direct line of 6 towns of Nineveh in America, he's telling us the time is up for Gentile worship. It says in the scriptures, don't learn what the Gentiles do, and don't do what they do. You may not think you're evil, but you're of no good to me either. And that's not what we don't want to be. What's it called? Where you're just a middle person and you're not
Lukewarm.
decisive.
Lukewarm.
There's
Lukewarm.
lukewarm. Lukewarm. When you are lukewarm, he will just spit you out. And
Right.
so we don't want to be there. So that was, I didn't want to miss this in that scroll of the video, because this is so critical, guys, that we understand, because everything that Constantine did with the Nicene Creed and the Nicene Council was to make the Holy Roman Catholic Church the only church in the New World Order with the Holy Roman Empire. And that's why the people, and I grew up in a little farm community, and all of us from Scandinavian countries were in the Scandinavian Lutheran Church, and all of the people from Germany were in the Catholic Church. And I did not know there was a difference till I went to California, and everybody from Germany was Lutheran, and everybody that was Scandinavian was Catholic. And I thought, how does this happen? Because you think that it's a thing you were supposed to do. I never knew about all these distinctions, but when I grew up in this little farm community, everybody who was a member of the Catholic Church said it's really a shame you're not involved with the true religion, because the Holy Roman Catholic Church was called the true religion because it was set up with the Holy Roman Empire. That was the first world order. And that was the only church, only religion, only government structure. That was the merger that then went to Germany, and from Rome, it went to Germany in Berlin. Why do you suppose they put a wall up in Berlin? And then they brought it to America in 1871. That was Albert Pike, same time they put the corporation together. So what Father's trying to tell us is your Nineveh lesson is you've merged with all these Gentiles. That's why you merged with these 45 points. You see how he did this to me? And then he gives me this book to do? Because all this was happening in 22, 23 when we were on Reawaken tour. It was in the fall. It was like in November in Branson. It came
Right.
out of my mouth. And nobody was talking about the 23 eclipse. So I'm saying all this. And then by January, from November to January, I made sure these maps were done, found the 23, found all the truth of this. And God said, you've got to get so critical to give this message to my people. And I'm not kidding you. When Flynn held this, you were there, I think, Rick. And when Flynn held this, he looked down and his jaw dropped when I said 2017 went from Salem across, because God immediately was reversing the curse when Trump came in. That was in August of 2017. And then 23 went again from there to the Gulf. Okay, so swiped across, but that slanted A is his
Right.
signature across our nation. All of this comes out of your mouth, and then you got to go put it together so it is explainable to people, never knowing that right after I do that, like a month or two, I'm going to be getting a copy of the 45 points, because I'm supposed to know what to do with it. And I'm like, they're bad. You want me to write scriptures and help people counter this? And then it was after my first research was quoted by the president on 8/23 of 23. That transcript with Tucker Carlson is in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, and I realized that Father is sharing it direct with the president is speaking to me on a TV screen, and I just wanted to know, well, if all of this is this bad, then who has control? He said China, but I'll call Xi and get the control back. So I'm hearing this, that inspired me to continue working on this book. And then he stole my title, but I still continue because God gave me a title. We never know. And that's the biggest thing I can tell you. We never know where we're headed.
Mm-hmm.
If you surrender and let Father take you where he needs you and to do what he needs you to do, even with blessing widows during the day, even in a grocery store by paying for something for them or helping them find something that they can't find, just everything you do based on what he's asking you to do keeps expanding the blessings of your life.
It's called
I don't
being
know another way
yoked.
to describe
Right.
it.
It's called being yoked. Mm-hmm. And and I think that's
And see what happens when
yeah.
we come together. Are you realizing when Rick's, I don't remember, and then Rick has the term. This is how it happens when we're so tight with the Father, and we want all of you. God doesn't love me 1 ounce more than he does anybody hearing this message. There is no difference in what God has done with me that he won't do with you tonight and tomorrow. I'm no different than anybody. I was just a farmer's daughter in Nebraska and then ended up in California, and I didn't know I was going to go through all these things. And at any point in my life, I could have made a different choice without the Father's approval and never have gone through this and never been able to explain this. And what if I couldn't get this truth to the world right now?
Mhm.
When Father tells you, I was able to use you in this way, and I'm grateful, you're like, but you gave it all to me. This isn't Sheila Holmes 500 pages. This is way beyond me. And when he had me do the personal letter, I thought, oh, you just want me to review where you've taken me the past 3 decades? I can do that. That'll be easy. That isn't what he had in mind at all. But because I said yes, he turned it into talking about Aleph, Ishad, which we said is absolute unity with the Father, and then Kofefe.
Mhm.
So I don't think we've told the people about Kofefe, but if you want to tell them about Kofefe, that could
Yeah,
be
you
fun. And
talked
I don't
about
even know
that
if
a
we have
little
time
bit
left.
in our last episode, but we'd love to have you come on. I think Gus has got you coming on each, so we can go delve, because each of these topics we could go so much into it. But I would love to have you come on next time and maybe drain some of the most important points that you think we should talk about, right? And bring each of those up. I think that would be very important. And so, but if you had to just kind of, I know we're supposed to get into praise and prayer right now and move over to the other channel. People could be waiting there. What I imagine you have a lot of hope now, especially when you've seen what the Father's done through you. But talk to some people out there that might be losing hope. I hear a lot of people say nothing's happening. It's well, any message to somebody that's losing hope right now?
Father needs us to be working with him and serving him. The world will put you out of faith and out of hope. That's their whole plan, is distract you with pieces of information. That's all they've ever given us, and most of it wasn't even true. So we've spent our whole life believing we could trust people, that what they're giving us is a truth, and it's been a lie. And that's what they said. The CIA director in 1981 to 1987, Casey said, we must give them lies until everything the American people believe is false. And that's where they took us. But if you get a chance to look at these 45 points and realize how subtle it was, that they slipped us from 1 and 2 into 3, into 4, into 5, into 6. And by the time they got to 13, but we didn't know, they stopped taking any loyalty oaths to anything that would help or protect us. And it just kept sliding all the way down to where they said that we have to give Panama Canal back to the Panamanians, and it never belonged to them. To then not have to deal with Panama, the world courts, they were just going to take the nation, America, and all the individuals, which means all of us. There's such a joke, because in Hebrew, nations and people is one word, but they said all the nation and all the individuals into the world courts. They were done with us. They did it, and the whole way that they did the canal was a lie. And that God would love me so much that he would give me the truth about that, and it would cause this whole research thing to happen in our government, and that we would realize that the whole thing was just to have us believe there were no individuals down there, so they could easily take America into the world courts. And that's why they were filling America with all these people who they were going to give this nation to, because they came here and are depending on the money they're giving them, so they'll do anything they want them to do.
Right.
You see, the opposite of where God sent me is now what they were doing with the illegals coming into our country. And seriously, my whole life has been a complete boomerang to be ready for this.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. I said, I can't do that. Training manual. My information that you give me has changed so much, increased so much in 10 years. How can I do this for 300 or 400 years to help the next generations? You've got a lot more faith in me, God, that I can come up with. I just don't think I can do it. And after I thought I was doing a pretty good job, he said, well, we're just going to stop for a while and we're going to do a personal letter. I said, why? And he said, because the people need to know what I've given you. And then he changes the whole script and gives me all this stuff in this personal letter that I did not know. And so it's not just that he's giving it to me, he's giving it to me for you. Mm-hmm. And so have hope, because he's not taking his hand off of us. Mm-hmm. That would be the ultimate, it would be over. He's given us his signature on this nation. He loves us that much, mm-hmm. that he has hope and faith in us, and all we have to do, because I had nothing for years. I didn't have a roof over my head for 12 years.
Wow.
And God never left me. I never even slept in a car. Never slept in a car when I got a car. And he's that good. He's that good. We haven't tapped into it because we've only been taught pieces of scripture. That's what he had me go through in his shot. Part of the division is you don't know scripture in its full context. Mm-hmm. You just know how to quote things, you know? Mm-hmm. And when you quote it, you don't understand what happens right after that. What his warning is to us. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. You just told me my people perish for the lack of knowledge. And I didn't know. So therefore I'm rejecting you and onto your third and fourth generation. What? Say what? I use that as an example in the book, because that one just, when he showed me that, he goes, Sheila, just keep reading. Let's just sit and read tonight. And so I'm reading the rest of it. I go, this is horrible. I mean, you mean this is because I didn't know your knowledge? What? And so there's so much richness for us. And he doesn't expect us to be Bible scholars. Mm-hmm. He just wants to be with us in the reading of it. He wants to be with us in showing us, because he knows the end to the beginning of every life, of every person that's listening. And the gift is he never sleeps. In the prior 2 weeks, there were 3 nights each week I didn't sleep. And people say, oh, Sheila, you're going to have to just stop everything and you're going to have to get some rest. You're going to have to sleep. And I said, no, I was with him. And he gave me such knowledge and understanding and wisdom of things that everything's going to be so much better that I'm going to submit, because I had to submit a lot of court legal documents, and I couldn't have gotten through it without him. And I'm not an attorney, so I didn't even know how to respond. And these guys I'm up against, through a statute for this and a statute and code for that, and I don't know what statutes are. And so God said, you need this statute, because they tried to do a motion of summary judgment against me with just allegations. And you can't have one allegation if you're beyond a burden, if you're the burden of proof and you feel you're beyond a reasonable doubt. You can't have one allegation. And then he relied on the person that he brought in to review all of this. And all that person gave were allegations. But with every allegation, they did an accusation of me. And I'm not a party to the matter. I'm not an important part of this. I'm not the focus of the case. And so destroy the person and put in allegations and she'll fall for it. And you know what I mean? And so God flipped the whole thing. And the judge said 3 times, intriguing. It's very intriguing what you're saying. I'm the only one that stood in the court. And she said, you don't have to stand. You can sit. And I said, no, I'm standing to honor the court. I'm standing to honor who's really supposed to be represented here. I'm here.
Was that the case back in
truth? The what?
Was that back in the 96 time or?
No, this is right now. A week ago in Nebraska.
Wow. Okay.
Had to go to Nebraska in person and come up against all of the stuff that these big attorneys did that never lose. They said these two are a team.
Okay.
They never
lose. You talked
lose.
about that last. Okay, you talked about that was with your family and everything. Okay,
and
I remember that.
And so what happened is God gave me all the truth to say, well, this statute says you can't have one allegation. And then I apologized to the court because I'd already responded to all their documents, gave all the clarity, gave all the documented evidence, and they didn't give any documented evidence, didn't have any under perjury statements, didn't contact any of the people they were supposed to contact that I gave them back in March. They hadn't done anything. They were just ready to end it because we'll buffalo her with all these pages that just have all these allegations. And I only had the responsibility, according to an attorney who reviewed it the night before, and said, you only had to answer one of these. You don't have to answer everyone. And so I apologized to the court that I took more time in this, but it's to prove that they have no factual documented evidence to prove what they're saying. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of words, but it doesn't meet the burden of proof that they've proven this matter beyond a reasonable doubt. And the judge had tears. The judge had tears. I just was, when I said, they're trying to say this, but they didn't look at all of this. And that's why I submitted my document from March, because then I was still a special administrator, but I didn't have an attorney behind me. Well, now I was just one of the interested parties, and now I could resubmit it. And she accepted it. And I said that same outline they could have gone by, and they chose to ignore all of that and make it all about me. Mm-hmm. And I'm not the focus of this case. Mm-hmm. And so, guys, I had no idea. I had no idea when I spoke with you last time. I had no idea what Father was going to do about this whole thing. And I'm not in it for any of the stuff. I'm in it for the truth. And that's why I said I'm standing in truth. I'm standing on behalf of my own mother and father. I'm standing on truth for them. I'm standing on behalf of the court, and I'm standing to honor you, Your Honor, and the court. And I just kept saying, I'm standing. God just kept saying, you're standing in truth. And I didn't sit down. I think I filibustered 2.5 hours. They talked for an hour, and then I talked for 2.5 hours, and we were out of time. And the judge just took everything up in her arms, and just was so amazed, and then said, I'm going to take it under advisement. And I'm going to review everything, because they hadn't told her any of this, and they were trying to end the case. Mm-hmm. And so, guys, it's
amazing.
Your prayers.
So and is that was that still in process now?
It's under advisement, and she'll probably end it. There's consequences, severe consequences. There's the top 4 could have the attorneys themselves imprisoned or disbarred. What the court will do, I don't know what they will do. But when April, I was there, Father said, now they've met they're meeting their Waterloo. And so I had to look at the meaning of Waterloo, and it means that after all of this success, and these guys never lose, and meeting all the success, you meet a devastating defeat. That's meeting your Waterloo. And he said that in April, and we had a hearing in July, and they proved again. I said, if the court will listen to the July 3rd hearing, you will hear them say that absolutely they called every person, and every person did not align with anything that Sheila Holm has been saying in this court. And that's what they said in July. So I went ahead and called the people. I didn't ask them for a written copy because I'm not an attorney. I asked them for what happened. Not one. And they could have called 1 or 2 and heard something. They chose not to call a single one, and yet say that all of those people had statements that never lied with what Sheila Holm said.
They didn't do the work and lied. So that's how arrogant they were.
So
right?
False claims, false statements, breach of fiduciary, criminal enterprise, collusion with the defendants on a criminal enterprise process of a pre-planned agenda that they had to carry through. It's so
just to wrap
amazing.
This up, because you went in a different direction here. This was all about what you recently have done. Again, confronting improper
and it's
judges,
what you guys prayed
attorneys.
into. It's what you guys prayed into when we were together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You guys prayed into this, and it came to this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So we do want to pray for you real quick, but we're supposed to be on the other channel right now. So I'll just handle the prayer warrior. We've got a lot of prayer warriors online, but thank you. They're this great Charlotte and Gus and Teresa and so many others. But let me do the dirty work. Lord, thank you so much for Sheila. Well, let me ask you before we really go to him, Sheila. Is there anything specific that you want prayer about right now?
I'm open to whatever the team, whatever.
Okay.
I don't ever ask. I always thank Father. I stopped asking him years ago. I just thank him for what he's doing in me.
I love it.
My life.
But somebody can ask for you. So Heavenly Father, we just lift up Sheila right now. Thank you for her example. You know what I really ask, Lord, is that you will give more of us a heart to just allow you to yoke us as we surrender. Lord, I just ask that more people on this call listen to my voice, whether it's a recording or it's live, that they will just surrender to you like Sheila has, like Nathan French has, another example. They just listen, and they're available to be adjusted at a moment's notice. and they hear you say, "My sheep hear my voice," is what you say, Lord. Thank you for Sheila's example of that. And then may more of us really hear it, and not just when we're alone with you in a quiet room, but throughout the day, hour by hour, day by day. Guide each of us, Lord. And Lord, thank you for the written words that she's done, and when more people get into her books and be blessed by them about the truth of what's coming out. And may we come together as a body of Christ to arise and fight this evil. That's what you're calling us to do, Lord, and thank you for that. And I just ask for you to bless Sheila and to continue to be with her. She's drawn so close to you, and you've drawn close to her, Lord. Just thank you for that. And we just pray that her ability to hear from you even increases that much more, Lord, and that her example will just spread and will transmit, will shed to everybody else wanting to be yoked and to submit, so that you can guide us to the calling to which we've been called. We love you, Lord, and we say these things in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. All right, Sheila, any last word?
And just, it's such a blessing to be with you. And what progress from our prayer last time to where everything is at today. I had no idea when we were together last time where Father was going to direct any of this. And look at what he does.
All right. Looks like
for you all to be standing with me just means a lot.
All right, awesome. Gus has something real quick, so go ahead, Gus.
Oh, I didn't know I put my hand up, but that must have been the Lord. Just want to say hello, Sheila. Praying for you always. You've got such an inspirational life that just leads, like Rick was saying, leads people to want that connection with the Father like you do. You know, it makes you hunger for it, you know, so bless you for that, for your obedience. And just by his traveling mercies on you, pray he blesses you always, camps his angels around you and protects you. And I know he is, so it's kind of crazy, but I guess we should pray it anyway, right? So bless you, Sheila.
All right. God bless you.
Bless you.
All right. Hey, if everybody backstage just might unmute and say thank you to Sheila as we wrap up here. God bless you. Thank you so much, Sheila, for taking the extra time with us. That was awesome.
Thank you. Love you.
Oh, Sheila.
Thank
Thank you, prayer
Sheila.
warriors. You realize what you brought to fruition on the 18th of July. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Lord.
awesome.
Thank you.
Praise the Lord.
Yes. All right.
I
God
thank
bless
all of
y'all.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, we're going to
Thank
go into
you.
the other channel, Word and Worship.
God
Word and
bless
Worship
you.
channel for praise and
We
prayer.
love you. Shalom, shalom.
Yeah, and a Bible study. So go over to Word Worship and Bible Study. Thank you so much, Sheila. God bless you guys, and we'll see you over at the other channel here in just a second. Bye-bye.